It is your podcast for Everton's transfer deadline day. And surprise, surprise, the Toffees have signed nobody. Joining me to talk about this eventful day is Les Roberts. Dave Downey will be joining us shortly. Les, I think one of the most uneventful transfer deadline days ever, epitomised by the fact that Paul Merson at one point, I think, was speaking about Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari on Sky.
Yeah, I've just been watching Sky then, just on the off chance that something might happen. And they literally went to the break and said, there's been one really big transfer this window. Lewis Hamilton has gone to Ferrari. And it's like literally that's all that's happened. It's
Ugh.
like it's been a really quiet January, hasn't it? It's been really, really odd.
Because of us, do you think? It feels like everyone's terrified of being close to any kind of spending limits because
Yeah.
of what's happened to Everton. Like Mashiri should have been like a trendsetter in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
Probably for Sky anyway, and media companies who obviously love this time of year and get a lot of views and stuff. But it feels like because of what's happened to us, everyone's kind of looked at it and gone, actually, let's just hold fire a little bit there.
Yeah, it does. It feels like the teams at the top are even doing that. So obviously, outside of the usual six, you've got teams like Newcastle, you've got teams like Villa, who are kind of up there and thereabouts. And in the past, would have used this transfer window and Arsenal as well, I reckon to a degree, would have used this window to really kick on second half of the season, make that push for top four. In Arsenal's case, make that push for the title. Um, but yeah, it does seem like everyone's sort of looked at what's happened to us, taken a step back, and yeah, it feels like it's really not good for the competition, doesn't it? Now it feels like it's really stacked the deck against everyone. If a team like Newcastle, who no matter what you think about them, have got a pretty much unlimited budget, if they're now being cautious, that's a bit mad for the league, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it is, but like in the same breath, like is teams should be able to come in and spend billions of pounds in a window good? I suppose it's obviously ideally you'd want to be somewhere in the middle, wouldn't you? Because
Yeah.
you don't want Newcastle just being able to go, actually, we've got Saudi owners now, we've got trillions of pounds, we're gonna meet every player's release clause possible,
But
like across the continent to bring them all in and then like ruin
yeah,
that league or whatever. I think spending less is good for the league and good for like competition and like will obviously encourage stuff like coaching and trading properly and really scouting your players and that kind of stuff. But in the same breath, like you said, it means that ability to be able to go and just really go for it is kind of gone
yeah,
now.
I know exactly what you mean, and I do agree. It's not right that any club should just be able to come in and blow every team out the water. I mean, pretty much in the way Man City have. Although, I say that, but Liverpool have probably made signings that have cost more than some of City's players until like
Yeah,
Jack Grealish for 100 million. Liverpool were breaking the transfer records, although they would be loath to admit that. But yeah, I don't think it's right that any team could come in and just like monopolize it by spending loads of money. But you shouldn't just have the right to be able to do that because you were in a position 15 years ago where you were at the top and spending money already. So you're still allowed to do that. Chelsea being the case in point, they
yeah,
they can spend with complete impunity by the looks of things because they structure the deals over 10-year, 8-year contracts or something stupid. I think they've got a load of players now who are under contract until the next decade,
yeah,
which is just, it's not right. That is it. That's like, you know, Everton gets sort of in the press ever been slammed for like looking for loopholes in the profit and sustainability rules. That's what accountants firms do. That's what accounting firms are paid for. Whether you're a corner shop or you're a football club, you probably get an accountant to sort your taxes out. It's not right, but it's what everyone does to sort your taxes out to try and put money here, put money there, so you spend less in taxes, things like that. That's what everyone does. But it seems like Everton have kind of been hammered for that. But Chelsea can find a loophole in the transfer sort of system whereby they can sign players on massive long contracts spread the cost over the course of that contract, and that's a way around that. And it just feels really, really unhealthy that a team like Newcastle aren't looking at making at least one big sign in this window to try and kick on and push for that top four. They got it last season. They flapped it in Europe big time. So they will now be thinking, we need this again. We've got to try and get that top four. And Villa in the position they're in, they will have found themselves there quite unexpectedly, I would imagine. And the January window is all about, if you find yourself in that position, trying to get a player or two to maybe make that push for top four. And it's not happened. And, I think the transfer window and the whole thing that Sky do, it's a crock of shit, really.
It's dead now, isn't it? The January one.
Completely dead. But there's something feels a bit weird about this one. Like you said, everyone seems scared to go and buy players. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. I sort of feel like this situation we're in now with the spending would be fine if everybody was on like a level footing already. Like if everybody was like starting from zero, then said, right, you've got 105 million to spend, and you have, over 3 years, like that would work all right, because then it would be the person who's the most creative, coach is the best, scouts the best, would come out on top there. But because there's like these huge commercial advantages that some teams have got compared to others, it means that the status quo is ultimately going to be maintained. Dave does join us now. Everton haven't signed anyone, Dave, obviously. So we're just talking about the January window as a whole and how kind of weirdly quiet it's been. What have you thought about it all?
I think that point you've just made there is really accurate, because if you think about the MLS, they have a star player. If you remember when Beckham went there to LA Galaxy, it's like each team's allowed like one star player who sort of earns like 99% of the wages they give out, and everybody else sort of like lives in crumbs on the other side of it. I mean, obviously that player-wise, it's never going to work or continue in Europe, let alone the Premier League. But then the other thing I was thinking of too was the Formula One. Obviously, it's been in big news today with Hamilton going to Ferrari, and obviously the best drivers, or what's known as the best driver, goes to the best company, the best constructors company, drivers, cars. What they did years ago, I don't know if you guys remember this, they made a new sort of version of F1 on Sky, and they made every single car the same. Same as F1, where they had like the 24 drivers, and they made every single one of the cars exactly the same. So only the best driver would win the events. And I think that akin to what I was just referring to there with MLS, and what you've sort of looked at there, Matt, in how there needs to be some level of control, where you've got each team. If you get to the Premier League, you get a certain amount of, maybe not income from the Premier League itself, but you can only spend to the amount that you've just referred to, like 105 quid over the summer. And then I suppose the only extra you could use is the revenue you got from selling those players, because that's when it's actually fair. And that's where there's an actual talent, like you said there. If you're able to, I don't know, have a board that is competent and able to have a director of football who will bring in players on the cheap, and then they're able to develop them, and then you end up selling them for a lot of money, which we've done quite successfully in the past with a few academy players. You sell that money, and then you can add it to what you're able to spend, which is like half of what we see right now, rather than just having however much your owner's going to throw towards you. The thing you mentioned about Newcastle as well, the reference they've got over in Saudi as well, make things really iffy about who they can go and spend money on, how much they're going to be given to spend. And going to what Les was saying there, just as I came in, it's I know we've spoken about this with how Everton have been this year, but it's really depressing, I think, when you see transfer windows like this, because you look at ours now, and yes, we know the financial side of things. We know we're in the shit with all that sort of thing financially. But you go back to those windows, like you said, Les, Matt, when you're talking about how January's gone, it's virtually non-existent now. I mean, can you name any Premier League sides that have gone and made the signing in this window?
Like, I don't really mind that though. Like, I think that's fine, but
the window itself's fine, you mean?
Yeah, like I think like you shouldn't really. I don't think transfer should be the be all and end all of football, basically. And like it's,
I think,
you know,
sorry, Matt, not just what you said there about this window. I think it contradicts what many people said there, because is it not you're able halfway through a season to completely alter the chain of form that's gone your way? So, for instance, if you are at Chelsea, you're 3 or 4 points off the top of the league, and then you can go and spend it on whatever you want, and then that alters everything, doesn't it? So that's why I'd favour to see just summer. That's all you've got, and then it goes right through to the next year. Did we even have that years ago, by the way? Like, Les, do you remember this?
You used to be able to sign players whenever you wanted. I think maybe up until about 4 weeks till the end of the season, but you could sign players like into March, April. Um, yeah, I think that's why the cup tie thing came in. So you
Right.
couldn't, someone couldn't get like a club to like the quarterfinals of the cup, and then someone like Liverpool or whatever, and at that point comes in and goes, yeah, go ahead, we'll have him, and then knocks them out in the semis or something like that. Um,
I
yeah,
mean, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say for this window, it feels like it's an important one for clubs who are at the top and the bottom. So, like, Fulham have just, it looks like they're going to get Brogier in from Chelsea on a loan for like 750 grand, which is a pretty good deal, really, I think. And that's the sort of signing Everton probably could have done with. Because if you look, we've got two misfiring strikers at the minute, Chimiti a third. This is the sort of window where a team in Everton's position would ordinarily go out and be like, right, we need a player on loan up front
Yeah.
here. We need a striker in to do something about this. Whether it's to give Beto and Calvert-Lewin a kick up the arse and a little bit of competition, or whether it's to come in like Kevin Campbell did, score a shitload of goals and keep us up. That's what this window's for. If your season's going a bit pear-shaped, or you've got a bit of a push for the title, you can then go in and do something about it and sort of help yourself out, which is fair enough. And I think the fact that Everton either haven't or haven't been allowed to, it just doesn't feel right at all. Because if ever there was a transfer window where we needed probably something, maybe a central midfielder with a bit of creativity, maybe a central midfielder with a bit of bite, maybe a striker to sort out those front positions, maybe a winger, in case Dwight McNeil gets injured again, and
you're close to naming every position on the pitch here, Les. By the way.
That's because we're shite. But you know what I mean, though. Maybe all right. Let's narrow it down to two key positions. Probably a central mid, probably a centre forward. Probably put it down to one of those two key positions we could have done with reinforcing. And for whatever reason, I know Stelwell said start of January, probably nothing's going to happen. It does feel like I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me because we probably needed to.
Do you know, going back to what Matt said there about it being okay, which I fairly get that point, and what you've made there about what certain teams need. Can you not level the playing field in regards to, we haven't got a pot to piss in this window? Would you not? And obviously a load of other teams, City can go and buy they want, Newcastle can, Liverpool to an extent can probably go and get what they want in this particular part of the season. Referring back to what I said about how it just alters the way in which teams are going throughout the season, and you've still got 19 games left. That's what I feel is unfair. Where I think you can probably go to the table where it's probably a lot more fair is allow a certain amount of loans coming in. If when you get to this stage and maybe you've got, because did they still do emergency loans? They still do emergency loans, don't they?
Only for goalies, I think. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore either, to be honest.
But if you go to this point of a season, like I've said there, I'm no fan of it whatsoever, because it can alter complete seasons. When you start a season, you should have everything. By the end of that window, you should have everything that you need going forward. That's what used to piss me off so much about ours, is we'd be sitting there watching the stupid sky yellow tie thing until even later on in the morning, waiting for papers to be put through on printers or something like that. Be watching Jim White all night, doing your head in and needing a drink. You go through that point thinking, oh, we were going to sign. I know a lot of people think there's a drama there that excites people. I completely understand that there was a market for that. Maybe not so much now, but that's how Sky probably sold a hell of a lot of viewers. But if you reverse that, if you altered that to just loans, I think you've got much more of a level playing field that you're able to. Now, I know we're only allowed two over here, aren't we? Two Premier League loans you're allowed to your own team. I just think it makes it a little bit more compactive, not being able to think, well, City, I don't know, a little bit behind Liverpool right now. What do we need there? Because Haaland's out. We need to go and get a striker and can pay 40 million for the striker if we want to. That is far too far away from everything I've referred to there. They could go and loan someone by all means if they did it the way I've just referred to there. But I don't know. I just think it's overly difficult. They make it too easy for better sides. I think this particular window.
I think the issue they've got is that I think we probably all agree that like Newcastle being able to come in and spend £1 trillion in a window is not good. Like that would not be good for football, would it? But I also look at it and think, what's happening now, where it is effectively you've neutralised the league to a degree because everybody's got to stay in their lane in regards to spending. Like that's not good either. So it's like where do you draw the line? Like it feels like it's got to be somewhere in between. But can that happy medium exist between those like two very disparate like ideas of how teams should spend it? I don't know. And just quickly, let's just thinking then about that Kevin Farwell article that came out earlier in the month. Like imagine putting like sending an email around your work going, I'm actually not going to do much this month at all. I'm just going to be quite chilled out, and it's been tough for us all. So don't expect loads from me over the next 4 weeks. It's going to be quite quiet. And everyone going, oh, actually, yeah, that sound actually, yeah, we all agree with that. You're laughing there.
Well, okay. You work 4 months a year, and you're not going to do that nice one, mate.
Yeah, of course we know Kevin Farwell does a lot more than that. Just very quickly, we're not going to do lyrics tonight. We haven't signed anyone. Mason Holgate's come back and then gone out again.
Just on that quickly, Matt, sorry. Just on that. Sky were really trying to talk that up in saying Everton, in a real shock move, Everton have let a player go to a relegation rival. And it's like, are they really trying to talk this up? Is this the biggest double bluff Everton have done by just giving them a really shit defender? I don't know. It could be genius, but it was funny to hear Sky like trying to talk up as something it's blatantly not.
Yeah. I thought it was quite interesting that
Sorry, Macco.
I was going to say it was interesting that Dyche in his press conference today when he was asked about it, like he really emphasised that it was a very favourable deal for Everton. Like I don't know if that means like it's all of his wages are getting paid or we're getting like a good fee or whatever, but it felt like he knew he was going to get asked about going to a relegation rival, and he made it clear that like this is a very favourable deal for the football club.
It's just how unfair all of this is, really. And you just referred to like Holgate going to a relegation rival. You look at these sides that are down there, ourselves, aside from the 10 points, we'd still probably be down there. I know everyone's banging on about, oh, we'd be nice in mid-table. We didn't have the 10-point deduction. I'm pretty sure we'd be playing differently, not having those to fight for type of thing. Obviously, you see that, don't you, when you desperately need points, like we did when we stayed up against Bournemouth and then Palace the year before. Everton only played better than that because we were going to go down if we didn't do those things. I think it emotionally changes everything as well, those deductions. But nonetheless, if you're at a team there that is basically in the relegation zone, what's the main reason why they're down there? What would you say is the main reason why clubs are down near the relegation zone?
Because they've got crap players.
Well, yeah, obviously linked to what I'm trying to refer to here, which you've just failed, is finances. Finances and nothing more than that. Do you not agree with that? Do you not agree that you look at Sheffield United, the ones that come up, maybe you change your mind with that, but they've got a shitload of money when they come up, or more money than what they were on. Yet, how much are they able to do to stay up? And I know that's where your trap player reference comes into there, Matt, because you're like, how many people have said, and he's still, I think it's been a cliche this season, the three that in the bottom three without us now, but Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United are all crap and the worst three that have ever came up. I think that's really short-sighted to say that. I think the table obviously shows you that anyway with what Luton are doing. But I think if you look, relatively speaking, on the sides that, like, go back to, going off on the tangent here, but go back to when we finished fourth. look at the piss poor team we had when we finished fourth, and it was a lot due to Moyes.
That's harsh. There wasn't a piss poor team.
No, it was. You're playing Lee Tai and Wai Feng on the wing and stuff like that was happening.
I don't think either of them played that season, did
I
they?
know I'm exaggerating, but my point was, and I know Les was nodding then, but do you know what I mean?
Great stuff.
That side we had back then.
Don't rope Les into your argument.
There's no time there with anybody thought that side's going to finish fourth. Fair.
Good side though, wasn't it?
Well, it was obviously approved to be one, yeah, but that was due to all the things that came along with Moyes, the bottle, and all the fighting. We weren't exactly playing like Barcelona in there.
I think of that team with Kale, Arteta.
Not that I know what you're going to say.
Nigel Martin in goal.
Okay, fair enough. Bad example.
It was a lot worse after that January.
Yeah.
When Carverson went, even though we got Arteta in, that was a pretty wretched second half of the season. That, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wait. My point is, lads, before you're ripping me apart here, is that in general, yeah, the lower sides in the Premier League are only there because of finances, right? Finances, or they need somebody in there, a director of football, who is a bit of a miracle worker and is able to do a certain amount of work. Like, again, go back to Steve Walsh before he was, wanting to be like slapped about by all of our fans when he ended up shitting in Milan, looking like he was on holiday. You go back to that time and look what he did with Leicester. You're like, that's why Leicester have gone up there, because that's the anomaly certain clubs get. But in general, most teams are lower down because of a lack of finances. And that is where the three that are there now, like I said, Luton aside from us, because we're there, they're able to stay up in the league. And that's the point I'm making here, is that it's hard fan-wise to put up with that. Do you know what I mean? Because you people take the piss out of your club's being and all that. There's not much that any of us can do other than go to a game and push our side on, rather than you're watching and thinking, we've got a really good squad now because we've been able to go and get, finances, using cash wisely. The fact that we haven't done that means we're in with the shit. So that is sort of what I think proves my point, that financial side. So it is quite depressing if you don't spend it properly or have enough of it, because you don't do that.
Yeah, just one quick thing on that. This is going to sound blatantly obvious, but it is all about recruitment and having a decent manager. So I think you can,
finance for the recruitment, Les, they come head to head.
You look at, let's look at Brighton, right? Who everyone says got a brilliant recruitment policy, got a good manager in De Zerbi. The ninth. No, they're like 11 points off fifth. Only 4 points off 5 points, 4 points off West Ham. So they're in and around the European places. But it doesn't look like they're going to be able to kick on any further. And then you've got Villa and West Ham in fifth and sixth, which is a bit of a hiccup for the league, because United aren't there and Newcastle aren't there and Chelsea aren't there. But the top four, they were pulling away from everyone apart from Villa in fifth. It's just the same old stuff, isn't it? And it's always been the case that the better teams have been able to spend the most money. That's always been the case. In the 60s, Everton were the Mersey millionaires and all that. And, in the 80s, we were breaking transfer records, all that kind of thing. I think it's just really more marked now, and it's weighted against the other teams. So...
it is chicken and egg, really. When you said there, you look at those top sides because they've been allowed to spend, but that's because they've taken advantage of when to get to that stage that they're at, where there's no, like you said there, like you referred to, like the Merseyside millionaires type of thing and all that, the billionaires when Mashiri came in. We'd still sit here right now and do all sorts of different documentaries on how on earth Everton have ended up in this situation when we took a billionaire on 8 years ago. That's the infuriating thing. It becomes the Everton that saying. But I completely agree with you there, Les. When you've got sides that are up there now, it's because they've quite fortunately hit a stage where they the Midas touch, isn't it? You look at when Abramovich came in, things completely altered then. Remember Chelsea before? Do you know what I mean? That's why, if we weren't so passionate about our club, it'd be really, really easy just to jib football.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think that's a great point. Like, we have been privy to this window of opportunity. Like, it's like before these rules came in, we had the chance to establish ourselves as a team that was in the top six or the one just outside of it. If we'd signed properly, if we hadn't give players ridiculous contracts, if we hadn't have done X, Y, Z, like the opportunity was there for us to spend as much, like not as much as we wanted, obviously, but like a massive amount, and set ourselves up for this period now where it is kind of neutralized and a bit more sanitized, but we haven't. We spent terribly, and now we're reaping the rewards of it, obviously, but the reaping what we sowed in the sense that we're having to just kind of live hand to mouth in regards to our spending. Like, and we've you know, Mashiri said, didn't he? You know, there's a small window of opportunity when he first came in, and my God, how far away from that are we now? Yeah, window's been smashed and shut and boarded up, I think.
I always think of the fork in the road was when we finished fourth, and obviously we had to get the Villarreal stuff before that. Who did we sign when we got fourth in that summer before we started? When we did the
Phil Neville, Simon Davis, wasn't it?
Phil Neville, Simon Davis, and I think that was it, wasn't it? You
Did we
can't.
get Beatty then as well?
But who, sorry?
James Beatty. Didn't we get him then?
No, he came in the January, didn't he? Of the season before.
So we had him, Bent and Ferguson up front, didn't we? I think that was it. So when we got to that, I remember saying it at the time, even though I was a kid, you get fourth place. That is the time you've got to press the button. That is the time where you've got to take advantage of what you've gone and done, which was remarkable that we finished fourth, let's be fair, even though it was the lowest amount of points anybody scored, anybody's gained to finish fourth in the league and get in the Champions League, which is quite remarkable when you think about it. Didn't we hit 50-odd points, was it? We got in 60?
Yeah,
just
tell you what, they is putting the boot into that team, isn't he, tonight?
I think we were all like minus 5 goal difference as well, which is dead funny.
-1 it was.
No, Matt, you're going to give me absolute pelters on when people listen to this, but what my point is about it is that side that finished fourth was remarkable. It was remarkable because we had the manager who spent, what, 5 million on Lescott and Cahill the year before.
Lescott was a few years later.
Yeah.
Was he? Well, anyway, the way that side, if you looked at that side there, virtually didn't have many subs at all. We had, what, Anachibi to come on or something like that. Was he still not there? Relatively poor side, let's be fair. To look at it on paper at the time, you would think, well, Everton will do well to stay up. Let's be fair. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, we finished 17th
to go down, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly. So, that point's what I'm saying there. So with nothing, you've had a manager like Moyes who is idolised, and that's why I think it's really unfair when people go on about how poor they think he was. But that's another point. When that happened there, do you to do that these days? No. But the main thing I was saying there, when we got that top four and we were all celebrating, the thing that did our heads, and obviously Liverpool went and won it and they're still allowed on it in 5th place. But that summer, every penny we had should have been thrown at getting a squad that can go together and maintain this. And I'm not just talking about staying in the Champions League. Villarreal comes into it, obviously, the way we ended up finishing with it. But if Everton consistently finished in Europe then, because obviously it was the 5 defeat after that to try and get into the UEFA Cup, that was such a massive chance that was missed. Do you know what? I think about that so much when I'm lying in bed. How good Everton could be these days. For that one thing they could have done is go and get a squad or add to a squad, maybe get 4 or 5 players there who's going to make a big difference for you being able to be a regular top 6 side. And we missed it. And then lo and behold, what was it the next season? We only got 37 points to stay up when Man City were behind us. We just went up and down on seasons, didn't we? It's like finished 6th, then finished like 13, 14. Yeah. That's happened because of a lack of consistency. And I'd go as far as questioning you now. Obviously, it's different levels of money these days and a different game. But are we much more different to that? When you think about the complete, well, these days we're awful at spending money on players. We've been dreadful. You go back and compare what we had back in 04, 05 and not getting the correct players we needed. It, to me, looks like Everton haven't actually changed that much other than what's gone on with the 10 points taken off. Do you understand what I mean?
No, because we could have gone and spent money then. Like, there's no rules stopping us from spending money at that point. We were just skint.
Did we?
We were just skint, so we couldn't spend the money then. Whereas now, if we had all the money in the world, we couldn't go and spend. Like I think that's the difference. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, I just don't know where they strike the balance between spending what you want, a team's got money, and
You
making
mean
sure it's
rules,
a
as in
competitive
rules now?
league. What was that?
You mean as in rules now, the way the rules are?
Yeah, yeah. Like I just don't know how they find that balance without. Well, listen, I think that as much as like teams like Newcastle or United or Chelsea may end up moaning about this, like they'll be relatively happy because what it's doing is effectively protecting the established order, isn't it? Because no one
Do
can get too far outside the lane unless they do something absolutely extraordinary.
you guys envy what's going on at Newcastle?
No, I wouldn't want to be owned by Saudi Arabia and a nation state with all the questions around that.
Do you stop the book at the moral side of things?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
Like, say the same,
but
Les.
I think Les just got off.
Sorry,
Sorry,
I'm back. Zoom kicked me out. I missed that. What happened?
I was saying, do you envy what Newcastle are these days? I'm
Um,
going to miss letting Matt's answer actually, because it'd be interesting to get your take on this.
I don't know. Well, I'd like to be in their position, and I just wish we did.
You mean that in terms of financial prowess and buying players?
Oh yeah, fuck being Newcastle, no chance. But yeah, I would like to be in their position, and it would have been great if we'd have made the most, like Matt said before, when we did have that opportunity, if we'd have made the most of it and not just gone Bertie Big Bollock with the spending and still carried on that kind of, okay, we've got this money, but let's do it properly. Yeah, of course, it'd be, but I don't know. I think, as we said at the start, it's quite easy to get disillusioned with it all now, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
becoming less and less like it is becoming tiresome, especially when you see those teams at the top now, and it's clear it's pretty much ring fenced. I said at the start, when you have got a team like Newcastle who are now being a bit cautious about the spending, that can't be right if a team like Chelsea don't have to be. We could theoretically finish on more points than Chelsea this season and still get relegated.
Yeah.
And they've spent £1 billion and we've not been able to.
That's
Which is just like, what's that about? That is not a good competition. I think the one thing for me that would sort a lot of issues out, but will never happen, is a salary cap. Do you know what I mean? And you think of other ways. If you want to incentivize players, everyone pays pays flat salary cap. So then it comes down to coaching, recruitment, youth products, things like that. That's a bit of a level playing field. Obviously, on the back of that, you would get more ways to incentivize players with win bonuses and, I don't know, commercial deals, whatever. But I think that would be the best way to make it as level a playing field as possible. But that's never going to happen. It's, as we said, it's like, it feels like it's becoming more and more a closed shop. That ladder's been pulled up for everyone. And as I said, especially when you see Villa, they're pushing for the top four. They're thinking we might have to sell another youth prospect like they did with Jack Grealish. They're worried about signing players themselves. That's not right. That can't be right for the competition.
Yeah, we will wrap it up there. Cheers to everyone for listening to the 2004-05 season review. 20 years on from the season going on.
That time we qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah, hope you all enjoyed that trip down memory lane there. Also should say thanks to everybody for voting us in the Sports Podcast Awards. We managed to get a creditable third place and a bronze medal in that. So really appreciate everyone taking the time out to vote for us. Dave, Les, do you want to do anything before the Oscar music plays? And you've got to, be booted off.
I'd have liked you to be a little bit more upbeat. Oh, we got a third place, didn't we? Well, that's classic you, Matt, isn't it? Really, you just step. You just
don't want to hear about this sort of stuff. They just want to listen to us talk about Everton and moan.
You're so much of a calm lad. You know me. Maybe we're just complete opposites, aren't we? I've been crying downstairs lately and everything. But in seriousness, yeah. You look. I just said on Twitter. You look against who we were up against for us to go and even get anywhere near the top three is incredibly. It's incredible. It just does us a really good favour in terms of what we've done with the amount of people we have working with us. The contributors that we have just been really, I put a long list of them on Twitter. I think I'm still writing more and more of them. We have an amazing team of people that just grafts away. We do all sorts of podcasts. To go and get third, given everybody else around us in that category, is quite miraculous, to be honest with you. So yeah, everybody who's voted for us, touched the button, vote, even those who listen to us for 30 seconds or whatever. Thanks so much, and we guarantee to be carrying on, don't we, guys? And keep going again to go and get the gold in 2025.
Yeah. I don't really want to talk about our podcast award, but let me talk about our podcast award. No, I'm made up with it. It's sound. Yeah, it's really good. And do you know what? It's like it's lovely to get an award, but the nicest thing is when, like, and it's happened a few times over the last like year or so for me, and I find it really mad, but it's lovely when people come up and say stuff to you. Say, oh, do you know what? I love the pod, love listening to it. Gets me through some hard times with Everton because it's tough. That's the real, like, that's the really nice thing about it, to know that people like appreciate it. Because for me, it's just this thing that we do, isn't it? But it is nice to know that people really appreciate it, and I really appreciate everyone who voted for us in that, because I do think it's amazing that we got third, to be honest.
Yeah. It isn't, you know, Matt as well. I think I actually get what he was saying there in terms of how many times have we been to these things, Matt, where we've gone up there with our hopes held high and we've just ended up walking off far too early.
I mean, I never get carried up. You are very invested in this sort of stuff. I am not at all. So,
do you know why that is, mate? Do you know why that is? Is because you don't fully appreciate how good you are at what you do. But I'm not going to start.
I just don't people like us talking about this sort of stuff. Everyone's turned off now, anyway.
No one will be listening anymore.
Yeah, everyone's turned off now anyway. So you say what you want.
In fact, you know what? You two can go, and I'll just stay in here just talking about it for the rest of the night.
It's too late. It's too late.
Just do a live stream, Dave.
Yeah. In all seriousness, cheers to everybody.
Yeah.
We'll keep it going, and we won't mention it ever again until next year when we're going to ask for your votes again. So cheers to Dave. Cheers to Les. That has been your deadline day reaction / 2004-2005 season review. We'll catch you again after Spurs, or if you're a Lunar Extra subscriber before Spurs. Harry Sherlock gave us a preview what to expect from Ange and Richarlison and the lads going into the weekend. So do check that out. Up the Toffees. We'll speak to you again soon.